Let's also remember that teenagers are so in the here and now.
Yeah.
So for them to project 3 months ahead is like so overwhelming.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah. So it's what it's normal to have that reaction in some ways.
Right. And sometimes when it comes to scheduling, then it's like it's too much into responsibility. I have to be too grown up. I have a schedule or something, right? Let's say if it sounds like some summer activities or something, this is something you want to think about. How about if you say, you know what, I want to make sure that you get to do what you want this summer. What are some things that you'd like to do? You know, not to say where and when, what camp or what activity, but say, if he says like, oh, I like doing this or that. And then you could say, okay, so is that something you want to do during the summer? And he says, yeah, that might be good. And then you have gone one step. You have established something for the summer, right? And then maybe you can ask him or come yourself up with some choices. What could that look like? Like, where could that happen? How would you make that happen? And make it in a way where start with the things that he might like, that might be fun for him, right? So that he has a motivation to look ahead, right? If you say, okay, so let's see what we're doing this summer, plus you have to do 2 classes of summer school. He's not going to want to look at the summer, right? Well, if you ask him, what would you like to do this summer? Would you like to go somewhere with your friends? And then look at when you can do that, and then say, oh, and there's those 2 summer classes. And we kind of need to fit that in there, but let's see when you want to do the things that are fun and then fit the other ones in. So kind of, you know, don't go and say, we have to schedule this.
A lot of the words in talking about stress and what adults are stressed out about and what teens are stressed out about are kind of negative. Is there ever positive stress or good stress, and what does that look like?
Well, something that I want to mention regarding, I think everybody here would agree that balance, as you mentioned, is the key. Okay, we don't want to neglect our physical health, our emotional health, our mental health, our spiritual health. We don't want to neglect any pieces of our life that brings us peace and joy, etc. Because then, as someone once said, we become humans doing, not humans being. You know, and so whatever, at least me coming from, most of my career has been with intervention, has been with where kids don't want to connect, don't have connections to positive peers, adults, and they're kind of closed off, and then it's kind of a very strategic plan to get back access to that young person. So what I would suggest is, if you have influence in your child's life, that means if you still have the ability to say, next Saturday don't plan anything, even with the whining, if they don't plan anything because you said don't plan anything next Saturday, if you have that influence, in my opinion, utilize your influence, because there's a window of opportunity before 18. After 18, if that's kind of what I mentioned earlier, when they have too much freedom, too much choice, and if we know they're unhealthy balance at the point, and it's evident that they're very performance oriented at this point, and that's an unhealthy lifestyle that's gonna burn out as they become, you know, in college years or adult years, you may want to be able to teach them, have them experience something, even though they might not be totally excited about it. So for example, to say one Saturday a month we're going to do something as a family, you know, next Saturday, something of that, so they can, even though they might whine up to the day, at least they experience something. So when they go off and fly the nest, they might miss it. You know, I miss those camping trips. You know, so for example, I never was taken camping, I was never taken fishing, I was never taken to a lot of those things. I was given the freedom to just do, you know, and that's where I developed my own workaholism and performance stuff and that type of stuff. So my wife had to teach me how to go camping because she experienced it, you know. So giving the opportunity for your kids to experience what balance looks like and feels like while you have influence in their lives.
And what's so cool about that is that you're also giving yourself the opportunity
to experience it as well.
Because it's really hard, especially in this valley, for any of us to say, this Saturday I'm taking off with the family because emails are coming in and all this stuff. So just the boundaries of work life is great. I mean, if you can do it.
Right.
But I think, as you're saying, a lot of us around this table are getting stressed out because we're thinking, oh,
Right.
excuse
Right.
my English, shit, how
Right.
can I take a Saturday to be with my family?
And,
because of all this
but
stuff
that's what the
I'm doing?
self-care is about. It has to be purposeful, not when you have time, because you'll never have time. There's always something else we could do, especially if we start looking down the line, this summer, next year, whatever it is, next holiday season. So if you start doing self-care on a weekly basis, on a weekly basis mindset, then it's creating those rituals. Every Saturday morning, we're going to have family time. What do you want to do? We're going to have it, regardless or not. It's non-negotiable. So what do you want to do this Saturday morning? You want to go to breakfast? You want to go, golf land? What do you want to do? So
no such thing as spare time, only priority, so.
exactly,
take time to have fun.
Exactly.
Right.
Through that, so while you have influence
Right.
over those, again, it might not be influence through friendship and joy, but as I used through my example, sometimes they said it takes 28 days to develop a new habit. So don't quote me on that stat, but it's kind of, you do things over and over again. After a while, it's not that bad. It's like, okay, I kind of enjoy it now. I kind of miss it. And the hope is that you internalize it enough where you miss it one day. And you say, wow, I remember those times where I was less stressed.
We have time for one more question.
So along the lines of being overwhelmed, either too many limitations or not enough, what are some of the signs to watch out for there? So
In terms of what either end or just
either end, yeah,
either
going
end?
too far to the extreme, one way or the other.
I think one example could be where you overly obsess over one thing, grades, performance, because that to me would be kind of a red flag of, you're obviously not joyful doing all this work, so you're stressed out, you're, whatever it is, so you're a little too busy doing something, or detached, whatever's clever mode, numb, that type of stuff. I would say those are the two extremes, either too much, busy, I don't have time to talk, I don't have time to feel, I don't have time, or procrastination, just lax attitude.
Another thing that comes up, and I'm going to continue with your question, is unfortunately, and Ursula and Enrique can vouch to that, a lot of people believe that maintaining the grades means the kid is doing good, which we've known, especially with substance abuse, that a lot of kids who are in the A+ category actually using. But again, to the panel, just in conclusion, are there specific signs that as a parent you need to know? I mean, is there something out there that you need to know about your child that if they fit such and such and such, red flags are up?
I always look at behavior. I think, especially since teenagers sometimes don't talk, I look at the behavior very much. Sometimes you can see if somebody's rebelling. That can mean they might need more boundaries, they might need less choices. I had a teenager who was in my substance abuse program, and he said, last Saturday night I came home totally drunk and I smoked weed because I knew my dad was going to be home when I came home. He just lived with the father. And I said, what happened? And his father said, oh, as long as he didn't get caught, right? And I said, well, how was that? You obviously have the freedom to go and do that if you want. And he said, I was really upset. I wanted my dad to say, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You don't go out and smoke. So he had rebelled to push for the father to set boundaries, right? So sometimes the rebellion can also say, take care of me, right? I'm acting out, and I'm going to see when you're stepping in and you're keeping me safe in my boundaries, right? So you can look at that behavior as rebellious behavior. Again, when children become very secretive, or teenagers very secretive, that is a problem. When there's a loss of connection, and again with behavior pattern, when you see things change from the way they were before. I had a mom come in and she said, it's so weird, my son has started cleaning the apartment. It's so clean, and then he started cooking, and it was great. Well, we found out that the son was on meth, right? He couldn't sit still, so he was cleaning. So that was a big behavior change. That normally a parent would think, that's really great, the grades are getting better, he's cleaning the house, he's helping out, right? But you want to really look at that behavior change. There's something behind that, and then maybe address it with your teenager. Why is that going on? You've noticed something.
And if I were to identify one warning sign, would be the lack of being in touch with emotions. Lack of communicating with emotion, not just talking about emotion, where it gets very cognitive, when you start living in your head, and you just either stay distracted, procrastinate, stay busy, but when you ask some questions, it's up here. It's just not at where a lot of the kids will say, you're not feeling me. You're hearing me, but you're not listening to me at the emotional level. So being okay expressing emotion, receiving emotion, kind of that being in the present moment emotionally would be, for me, a red flag of their stuffing, they're avoiding the emotion, and they can perform all day long, academically or negatively, but they're both unhealthy if they're become strangers to themselves, emotionally.
I'll piggyback on that. I agree that I work in a middle school, and so on the younger side of adolescence, and most of the kids that are referred to our counseling program have a lack of communication with their parents. There's family conflict, and the kids are and don't have a close bond with their parents or parent, and that seems to be creating a lot of stress and sometimes leading to more serious depressive symptoms and whatnot. And a lot of times it's not just, it's the child has maybe lacking some social skills, and in some cases you can find help for your kids to help them express emotions. Like Enrique was saying, you've got to help them express their emotions, you've got to help them talk to you, or if not you, another adult. So along those lines, it's nowadays really seen that, that one of the biggest factors for resilience in kids is just to have an adult outside of the family actually to talk to. So I actually encourage parents to find those other adults for your teenagers to talk to, whether it's a neighbor, a friend of yours, a teacher, somebody in your church, whoever that might be. It's really crucial to have your teenagers be able to talk to somebody other than you, in addition to you, but other than you.
So I don't know if I can continue, but relating to that, one of my sons is starting with an ACS counselor. So what's an appropriate amount of, hey, do you have any questions for me? Can I support you, the counselor? I know there's boundaries of privacy, but...
I think I would defer to the counselor, actually. I actually ask the counselor that and let them decide on your depending on your situation, and they will bring you in as much or as little as they see is needed.
Well, we've come to the end of our evening. So again, I want to thank the panelists for all the information. I want to thank all of you for being here. This was small and intimate, which actually it seems like it was much better than the bigger audience. The next Breaking the Stigma forum will be early in June, and this will be on the empty nest syndrome, or empty nest, yes, syndrome. But we'll approach it in two ways. We'll approach it from the senior going off to college point of view, what is appropriate in terms of what to expect, as well as the parent's point of view of what to expect as a parent. Again, what's appropriate boundaries, that you cannot move in with your child's roommate in the dorm and do their laundry for the first year and so forth. So again, thank you so much for being here. I would appreciate if you could if you have questions for additional questions, please get a hold of their business cards where you can send emails. I know those 4 individuals have been dealing with kids in crisis and drama since 7:30 this morning, so it'd be great if we could just let them go back to their families and enjoy their kids and their wives and husbands and so forth. So again, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.